And that's how you salvage a series.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans. Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of your Oakland A's news in their final year in Oakland. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been part of the Locked On Podcast Network for the last 6 years. I've been a podcaster for well longer than that, and I'm also the host of Locked On MLB. So for the rest of this regular season, you're going to be getting 5 episodes of Locked On A's from me a week and 5 episodes of Locked On MLB. That's a lot of your pal Sully. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully, but Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And SupplyHouse.com is the sponsor for today's episode. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, h-vac, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Now, yesterday's show, I talked about the dumb losses, the big dumb old losses that the A's had in back-to-back games. They lost a 1-0 game, then they were doubled up 4-2. They didn't come up with a big hit. They are just relying too much on trying to have the big inning and it didn't come through. Obviously, they were held to 2 runs over 2 games and wasted some really nice pitching performances. And the only positive was the fact that it was a 4-game series and there was a chance for possibly splitting it. Now, I got kind of nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. I got a little bit nervous because if the A's lost today's game, then that would be dropping 3 out of 4 at home. And you had Beto versus Springs. Now, Springs is one of those typical Rays pitchers who does piddly-poo with other teams, and yet has had some great games for them. Now, and I really felt it was important for the A's to jump out ahead pretty quickly. And they did. Geloff got the sac fly, but it was the Hernandez double to left field, scored Nevin. And I love that. I love the aggressive sense. I want more aggression from the third base coach. I want to see them tack a run on here, tack a run on there. Because you look at a run here or there in some of the other games, and next thing you know, we're talking about taking 3 out of 4. But the Hernandez double was big. And then Butler, the thing that made me really happy about the Butler RBI single in the 3rd inning was it was with 2 outs. I love seeing a nice 2-out RBI because, when you get 2 outs and a team that can pitch well like Tampa is on the mound, they're thinking, okay, we're gonna wiggle out of this. We're going to wiggle out of this one. And Butler didn't let him do it. Butler did not let him do it. And that's a good thing. That is a very good thing. Now, the A's pitching was good enough, which in this day and age, hey, yeah, that's not bad. Beto pitched into the 6th. He walked 3. That's too many walks in 5 innings. But only led up to 2 hits and the 1 run. And he did strike out 6 in 5 innings. TonaI's got him out of the jam in the 6th. And McFarland relieved Hallman. For the first 2 batters that Hallman pitched to, he looked great. But then he got into a little bit of trouble, let up a pair of hits, and McFarland came in to pitch. And it was a line drive to center field. And I thought, oh, boy, here we go. Here we go. Here's where the other shoe drops. But instead, it was Cameron who dropped. And Daz Cameron made a fantastic catch to end the inning, reminding me of his pop. Mike Cameron, who was a player for many, many years mainly with Seattle. He also played with the White Sox and the Reds. And as part of an interesting trivia question is that he was part of the package that the Mariners got in exchange for Ken Griffey Jr. in the deal with the Reds. And Duar did not make any base running blunders to hand the Rays an easy run. And Hernandez got a couple of doubles, including the RBI double. So good for him. And then it was Miller time at the end. Miller did let up a single, and it was who was it? It was the first. It was the first major league hit for Cameron Misner. I've never heard of the man, but he's only played in a handful of games in his major league career. 26-year-old rookie finally got his major league got his first major league hit. So good for him. Good for him, and good for Mason Miller for making sure that he got his great moment, and it didn't affect anything else for the A's. That's a save. I like to count the saves that when the pitcher comes in, he's facing the tying run. But Miller came in and slammed the door, struck out 2, had a couple of nasty pitches, which was great, and it looked like it was vintage. It was vintage Miller as he recorded his 20th save. So there you go. He crossed the 20 save threshold. Now, I bet there were people who didn't think the A's were going to get to 20 wins at this point. But here we go. One of the keys, I talk a lot about the keys about salvaging this season and making sure that it's a positive season. Of course, the main thing is to not finish in the cellar. Don't finish in the cellar. And as I'm recording this, the Toronto Angels game is not over yet, but the Blue Jays have an early 5-0 lead. So unless the Blue Jays, who can collapse with the best of them, has a good old-fashioned collapse, we are going to end tonight with the A's alone in 4th place. Now, I do not believe the Rangers are playing tonight. They are not. But if the A's can successfully put the Angels in their rearview mirror and keep their sights on the Rangers, well, then maybe, just maybe, because the Rangers are playing a very, very good Cleveland team who got smacked around the last couple of games by they lost today to the Yankees, and then they wound up winning the previous game in extra innings. It was a tough series, and so the Guardians are going back home, BB versus Eovaldi. But keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the matchup, because as of this recording, the A's are only 4 back in the loss column of the Texas Rangers. And that's what they should be aiming for. And the other thing that's interesting, in my humble opinion, is the A's have won 55 games and lost 63. The next big milestone for the A's is win 63. 8 more wins. With 8 more wins, we have guaranteed that the A's will not lose 100 games. Again, baby steps. Not saying this is a championship caliber team, but everyone thought this was going to be this, that, or the other thing. If they finish the season not in last place, not losing 100 games, already they're having a better year than most people. But their upcoming series is going to bring a unique challenge, and one that should make for a fun weekend of baseball. You know, it's still hot here in California. If I want to go to a ball game, I got to stay hydrated. How am I going to stay hydrated? I'm not going to do it drinking sodas or having ice cream out of those plastic helmets. I got to use Liquid IV. And when you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's popsicle firecracker flavor. It's a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. So you should blast off with the iconic summer flavor of popsicle firecracker, a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon, lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Find all your favorite flavors on the website, from acai berry and lemon lime to pina colada. Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, trademark, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first store of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better at Hydration using today's promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Get supplies from the site that's made for skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, h-vac, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folk in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skill trade can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, h-vac, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Thanks so much for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy more of me at Locked On MLB. I'm there to provide you with national expertise with my point of view, which is not always serious, and I help you get ready for the Major League Baseball playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with me, your pal Sully. I have it covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, so the A's are going to be starting the weekend series, and we're going to be covering that on Monday, the whole series. It's going to be one of those episodes where we do the first game, the Friday game in the first segment, the Saturday game in the second segment, and then the finale in the third segment. I have to say the Brewers are an interesting matchup for a couple of reasons. First of all, they are enjoying a very strong and convincing lead in the National League Central. The NL Central is not the most competitive division, but we're playing a balanced schedule, so it's not like the Brewers are just beating up the teams with losing records. And it's funny, top to bottom, there's a lot of talent in the National League Central. There's a ton of talent on the Cardinals, who have won the last two games. And the Brewers have kind of flopped in the last two games. They had a big collapse on Wednesday's game, and they were shut out on Thursday afternoon. But even with that, the Cardinals have had a bad last 10 games. The Cubs can't get out of their own way. And the Reds and the Pirates, who briefly, all of the teams I just mentioned, had been a wild card team at one point of this summer, they all sit, even with the two-game winning streak by St. Louis, they all sit below 500. But none of them are having a disastrous year. They're all a few games under 500. They all have a lot of talent. Hell, Skeens may win the Cy Young Award in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of talent in Cincinnati and Chicago, and there's superstars in St. Louis. And they are all having losing record, while the Milwaukee Brewers are within a couple of games in the loss column of having the best record in the National League and maybe even the best record in baseball. And they are interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, they haven't had a big slide. It's not like they've had one of those massive months where they just can't lose, but they've also haven't had a big disastrous moment. They've been very steady. They've been super steady. And as a franchise, they've been steady when you consider they made the playoffs in 19, the COVID year, missed it by a game in 2021. 2022, they missed it by a game. They won the division in 2021 and last year. And the Brewers just look like they are a solid, competitive ball club with good talent up and down. They aren't the sexiest team, not by any stretch of the imagination. And, there looks like they're not going to have Yelich for the rest of the year. Yelich was having a solid year. Whether or not they get Blake Perkins back anytime soon, I don't know. Jackson Chourio is starting to hit his stride. Willie Adames has good power. Rhys Hoskins has good power. William Contreras has been a good, solid hitter. And they've been getting good pitching. Colin Ray has pitched well. Freddie Peralta and Tobias Myers are obviously talented. Their bullpen is not always great, but they are a consistent team with a chance to go very far or have yet another in and out. I didn't even realize they were there October. They're consistent. But you take a look at that first game. The Brewers are coming into the A's. Okay, they're going to Oakland. Civale is pitching for the Brewers. Sears is pitching for the A's. Sears has pitched quite well, thank you very much. I'm very confident in him. Civale has been okay, not great since coming over to the Milwaukee Brewers. He had been pitching with Tampa Bay and had actually been pitching quite poorly. He was an all-star caliber pitcher for a season or two in Cleveland, but hasn't really reached back to that level ever since. So now we're sitting where the A's have the advantage in game one against the Milwaukee Brewers, and with that are taking a good long stare at whether or not they can actually take a series. When you're trying to have a surprising year, you have to hold your own with the good teams and beat the snot out of the bad teams. Splitting a series with Tampa Bay, that by definition is holding your own. So now you're up against one of the elite teams. Win that first game. If they win that first game, I am going to be dancing on a cloud, because that means you just have to split the next two. And even if you don't, even if the A's don't, there's no great shame in losing to a team like Milwaukee. But here's an interesting thing. Ray is pitching on Saturday against Boyle. Boyle pitched really well the last time. Now, Ray is an excellent pitcher. And then on Sunday, the matchup is Montas. Remember him? Why can't the A's get pitchers like Montas? And Estes. And I have to say, okay, Saturday is the one game that I absolutely believe the A's don't have a shot. Don't have a shot strong. That I think the A's are clearly the underdog. Ray versus Boyle, even though Boyle pitched well his last game. If they win game one, I give them more than a puncher's chance to win the finale. By the way, there was another piece of really, really good news for the A's and for the other teams, most of the other teams in the West. And that is this. An announcement was made in Anaheim, which, by the way, is where the Angels play, that Perry Minasian has been extended. The general manager in charge of the team that had Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and couldn't put even a 500 product on the field has been extended. A team that wasted a 1-2 punch like we've never seen in this generation, and currently has one of the lowest rated farm systems, and have an Angels team that is currently behind the A's, a team that had no hope, no management, no nothing. And they are extending him. What I'm saying is, as the Angels crash and burn, and they say, yeah, why don't you keep the guy who put this together and who's been there for a bunch of years? Well, teams like the Rangers, Diamondbacks, and Royals show you how quickly you can rebuild. And those teams didn't have a Trout or Ohtani on them. Sure. Go ahead. Keep doing what you're doing. You do you. Because do you know what? For someone who's hoping the A's win a bunch of games, I would love to see the Angels take a look and say, yeah, I think we should stay the course. I think I like the direction we're going. Oakland A's fans do too. You know, even with the most dedicated gym goers, you know, they struggle with consistency. The commute, waiting for weights, other people sweat. It makes skipping a workout very tempting. With Tonal, you could choose from thousands of workout and train in a way that you actually enjoy at home. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps get you stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal teams with every rep so it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. Tonal learns from your movement and provides suggested weight recommendations for every move with detailed progress reports. They even create personalized program and workout suggestions or recommendations based on your individual goals. It's like having a trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. Unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adapted digital weight to advance your training techniques. From professional athletes to your pal Sully, Tonal is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your total purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. Hey, thanks again for making Locked On A's your first listen today. Check out my other show, Locked On MLB. Prepare for the Fall Classic with me, your pal Sully. I've got it covered every single day. You can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, let's wrap up today by answering or responding to some people who have written in. I've been positive about the trip, the team in Sacramento are trying to make lemonade there because I think in the end, I don't think they're going to move. I think they're going to stay in Sacramento. And Eric Burns was on his the Will Clark's Instagram show, and he said the same thing I said, which was they're going to move to Sacramento. They're going to find they have a fan base there, and Vegas is going to drop out. And Vegas, I think that's becoming the smarter thing of not dealing with the Fishers. One of my listeners here, Vegas TJG, says, and I assume this person's from Vegas, we don't want another team to come here that couldn't succeed in their city like the Raiders. But TK100, I don't know what that means, the artist rendition of what the new stadium for the A's would look like, just like the Sydney Opera House in Sydney, Australia, looks really cool. I've seen those renderings as well. I just don't know if they're practical, especially if they want to build it on the old Tropicana site. But we'll see. And I think a lot of people in Vegas agree with you, Vegas TJG. I think because I think a lot of people in Vegas would rather have an expansion team instead of dealing with the Fishers. And I had said that one of the places, I think Portland makes more sense than Vegas as an expansion site. But Frank Schaefer, 1579, says, come to Portland, Oregon, will be a natural rival for the Mariners. Yeah, I said that a couple of months ago. I said Portland makes a hell of a lot more sense than Las Vegas for the A's. Portland has a lot of deeply rooted sports fans. It's a great sports city. And I think they would enjoy the quirky history of the A's and be able to have, you're right, a natural rival with the Mariners and still have that West Coast rivalry. So instead of it being a Bay Area situation, you have Orange County, Portland, and Seattle. I do think Sacramento would work. I really do. I do think they would work because you would still be able to siphon off some of the Oakland fandom, but really build up some new fan bases in Northern California that are not in the Bay Area. You just have to have either a dome or a lot of shade. However, Jay Foxman goes on and says they're going to Salt Lake. You know, you might be right, but and you could have made the argument that the temporary home for them in Salt Lake City would have made more sense in Sacramento because of the weather situation. If a team ever comes to Salt Lake, they have to do the realignment of baseball because you'd be able to have a natural rival with the Colorado Rockies. All right. Well, hey, good on the A's. And thanks for the comments, and make sure to go post them on YouTube. Good on the A's for finding a way to salvage the final part of the series. And let's see what happens with the Brewers. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Glad that the A's could make some wins today. Not sure if that sentence made sense. This has been Locked On A's for the 22nd day of August, 2024. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.